Hey everybody, I'm really glad you found Suncrest Messages. I do hope you'll take a minute to subscribe to either our podcast or our YouTube channel. And you can also download the Suncrest app. There's great stuff there that goes far beyond these messages. Either way, I hope that the next 30 minutes helps you integrate faith with your life. Enjoy.
All right, so we're going to begin today with a little bit of audience participation. These are not trick questions at all. So I promise you the first answer that comes to your mind is likely the right one. What do you say when somebody sneezes? Bless you, right? Yeah, absolutely. Thanksgiving dinner or big family gathering. All right, you're getting ready to eat, but obviously before you could eat, you got to pray for the meal. And so they're going to call on someone to say That's it. It's Christmas vacation. Like I expected someone to give me that version of it, the blessing. All right, what does your southern grandma say when you do something really stupid? Okay, I'm glad that's just not me because I got that a lot growing up. And it took me a while to figure out it's not a compliment. So bless your heart, right? Yeah, absolutely. So these are just a few of the ways that the word blessing or the word blessed gets used. And they're all over the page. Matter of fact, this past week I asked some people that I really, really respect. Like, hey, how would you define the word blessed or blessing? And this was interesting. Most of them were kind of tripping over that. Like, it's one of those things where their answer was like, blessed. Like, when you're blessed. That's not good enough. That's not an answer. So how about today we define the word blessed, and then we're going to commit together not to use it in the dumb ways that other people use it, or in the ways that I've used it in the past, if I'm being totally honest. While the uses that we just laughed about exist, usually when people use the word blessed, they're describing when something really good has happened to them. Or if they're on social media, of course, it's #blessed. And lots of times they're attributing that goodness to God, which seemingly is great, right? Except that for some of you, you've experienced some confusion about those uses. Maybe for some of you even, it's almost been like a crisis in your faith because those uses, they've raised like a tension within you. And for some of you, your tension is simply this. It's an intellectual honesty. For example, two guys ask out the same completely awesome girl praying that she says yes. Now, she chooses one, and because she's a really awesome girl, she tells the other one no, all right? So what does it make the one that she's chosen? Blessed? Is he blessed just because he #says he is? Or what about the other guy? What does it make him? Is he the antonym? You're shopping on Amazon. You've got something that you want or something that you need. You find it. There's only one left in stock. You click just in the nick. You're seconds away from the other person who wanted it. Are you blessed? You do a 30-year mortgage on a house that you know is going to create an ongoing tension to pay for and to furnish and to keep up because everybody else is. Are you blessed? That house was actually somebody else's dream home just like it was yours. But you're the one who got it. That's actually my story for the house that we live in right now. Like there were multiple offers in a short amount of time for this house. My wife and I wrote a letter to the owners because that's what we were told to do. And they chose us over all the other offers they got, including a cash offer for more money. Like, were we blessed? Oh, what about the other people that didn't get it? Were they cursed? See, for some of you, it is that causes you to at least pause. Like, is that being intellectually honest? And for some of you, it's that has caused you to literally trip because it just doesn't make sense to you. And if you're not a follower of Jesus, like this drives you nuts. Because you look around and you see Christians who are making the same decision as you. Sometimes they're making worse decisions than you. And then they humble brag about it and they attach a spirituality to it. It drives you crazy, and it should. And for some of you, though, it isn't an intellectual honesty that's your problem. It's way more experiential for you. You're not, nor have you been feeling #blessed. Relationally, you're lonely. or you're in a comparison-based friendship, or you're in an intimacy-deficient marriage, or you're in a behavior compliance-based relationship with your kids. And for you, it isn't an issue of feeling blessed. It's an issue of, man, why is God against me? You lost your job, and your hashtag blessed neighbor found a new one within a month. For you, it's going on 3. And the unemployment benefits are rolling back, and you're having a hard time making ends meet. And so for you, it's your experience. It's not your intellect that keeps tripping you up. And what you see around you makes you wonder, man, what does it take to get some of this hashtag blessed I keep hearing other people talk about? See, the hidden danger in these views of the way we use the word blessed or blessing is that we begin to think about God in some ways that are wrong. We begin to think about God in some ways that are harmful. If God will just come through and make life good, if the circumstances of my life will work out so that there's a positive outcome, if the happy ending gets to be my ending, then I'm okay with God, and obviously God's okay with me, and heck, I'll even bless him back with a thank you. But it doesn't support the weight of your experience or your intellect. Please hear me, that if the goodness of God is dependent on the goodness of your life, your faith will fail. If the goodness of God is dependent on the goodness of your life, your faith will fail. There isn't anything wrong with good things. I mean, please hear me say that too. Absolutely, that's true. But hashtag blessed by God isn't dependent on the positive outcome of your life. You may hear Christians say that. You may see them post a meme about that. But they're wrong. It's one of the dumb things that Christians say. So what does it mean to be hashtag blessed by God? Well, the scriptures, they use 2 different words for blessed. One of them means happy and fortunate. Jesus, at the very beginning of his ministry, actually gives us a picture of what this hashtag blessed life looks like. Jesus said that you're fortunate, you're happy, you're blessed if you're at the end of your rope. If you feel that you've lost what is most dear to you. If you're content with just who you are, no more, no less. If you've worked up a good appetite for God, if you care, if you get your inside world, your mind and your heart put right, if you can show people how to cooperate instead of compete and fight, if your commitment to God provokes persecution, you're blessed every time people put you down or throw you out or speak lies about you to discredit me. So is Jesus' definition of a blessed life, is it different than mine? Is it different than yours? Yeah. So what does that mean? Like, is Jesus just disconnected? Is he aloof? Is he crazy? No, I don't think so. I think Jesus knows something that many of us may know. At least some of us do. Many of us may be learning it as we follow him. It's this, that intellectually, hashtag blessed, the way we commonly use it, it just doesn't work. It's flimsy. Experientially, hashtag blessed, the way we commonly use it, it just doesn't work. There are some dangerous comparison games that begin that lead us away from life. Our picture of a blessed life, it doesn't hold up to what life throws at us. I mean, our accounts are fat until one economic downturn wipes it. Our relationships, they can support all of our weight until he doesn't look the way that he did when we first met. Until my kids started talking or thinking or working or driving for themselves. Until we were stuck together in quarantine with only each other and our gaps. And our stuff, like our stuff, it doesn't hold up because then all of a sudden our roof starts leaking. See, this was supposed to go, there it is, roof stops leaking. Our phone needs a new battery. Our car just needs a new model year. Because see, it's a chasing, and it's constant, and it drains us. So as a result, Jesus realigns what it means to be fortunate, what it means to be happy, what it means to be blessed. And one of the first people to get this realignment was a guy named Paul. Paul was the equivalent of Ivy League educated, and he was credentialed to do very well for himself. And so even as he was social climbing and seemed successful, he was still filled with rage. For example, he watched while a crowd of people killed somebody that he disagreed with. Filled with rage, filled with jealousy, because then he would go after everyone that disagreed with him so that they would either be killed or thrown in jail. This seemingly blessed life that he started with was leaving him feeling very much unsatisfied and filled with this rage and this jealousy, and he meets Jesus. And Jesus begins to realign what it means to have a happy, to have a fortunate, to have a blessed life. And Paul's going to go on to write much of the New Testament. He's going to be writing it because they are letters to some of the earliest followers of Jesus, letters to people that at one point in time he would have hated. But Jesus begins to realign what it means to be blessed. And in one of the letters that Paul writes, he writes to the ancient city of Philippi, to the people that are there, and he gives them some golden knowledge of what it means to be content, what it means to be blessed. One more thing before we read this together. Understand that when Paul wrote this, the circumstances of his life was that he was in prison. Let's read this together. He says, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. Honestly, Paul's smarter than me. Paul has experienced more than I have. We mentioned the direct encounter with God. There was also a shipwreck. There's also a snake bite. And when Paul is experiencing the circumstances of his life, and he writes this, it means I should listen to what he's saying. Being content is something that we have to learn. It's something that he had to learn. And it began by unlearning some of the things that his culture was teaching him. And it continues when we unlearn some of the things that our culture is teaching us. And then when he uses the word secret, he means that we have to be willing to look in some places that maybe our family, our friends, the people around us, they've not been willing to look, at least not initially. See, Paul's teaching us that being content, it isn't a personality. It's a decision. Maybe you thought that there are just some people who are more naturally wired to be content, that they've got something within them that makes it possible for them just to be more satisfied. But being content, it isn't a personality. Being content is a decision. This is what Jesus knows. This is what some of us are learning, that when we constantly try to get, to receive, to consume, we either get selfish or we get tired. And Jesus doesn't want either of those for us. In fact, Jesus said one more thing about the #blessed life. Jesus said it is more blessed, more fortunate, more happy to give than to receive. Passing things on. See, that's the secret. Blessings aren't bad. They are real. Blessings come from God. But when you realize that you're blessed, other people shouldn't know it because you pronounced it, because you posted about it, because you've said hey, this is what this is. I'm naming it as such. They should know you're blessed because they receive the generosity coming from it. That they are downstream from you, basically, and they're just getting what you're passing on. See, from the beginning of time, the blessings of God have been meant to be passed on. There's a man named Abraham. He lived in ancient Mesopotamia, and God called him out and said he was going to give him kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, enough to make an entire nation. Matter of fact, many of the nations that are still in the Middle East today, more descendants than sand or stars. But Abraham, he didn't win the I get to have my own nation lottery, which, by the way, is not a thing. And it wasn't as if God said to him, Abraham, I like you better than most people, you lucky duck. No, God was going to give Abraham the full weight of his blessing, but it wasn't just to make him rich and famous and happy. It was so that he would pass on what he received. Matter of fact, this is God's own words to Abraham. He said, I will bless you. You will be a blessing. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Abraham, you get my blessing, but it isn't just to hoard it. It's to share it. See, the scriptures, they use another word for blessing. And this meaning is a little bit different than what makes us fortunate. It's being shown favor by God, but that favor is always to be passed on. It's to be distributed. It's to be given away. We receive freely. It's the way it works with God. And so we should give just as freely. And so if there's ever a time when we look up and we recognize, oh, I've been blessed, then it should move us to also look up and see the ways that God might want to use that blessing in the life of somebody else. It isn't that we've somehow earned it or that we deserve it. Some of Abraham's descendants, they do go on and they become the nation of Israel. And right as God #blesses them with some pretty sweet land in the Middle East, he clarifies that this is not because they deserved it. It wasn't because they earned it. We dug back through the annals of Facebook, and we actually found this ancient Facebook post from the people of Israel right as they got the land. And you can imagine it, right? Like there's this picture of this fertile land, and they've posted #blessed, too blessed to be stressed. But if you zoom in, you're going to notice that the first comment under that post is from God himself, who says, understand then that this is not because of your righteousness that the Lord your God is giving you this land to possess, for you are a stiff-necked people. He posted that in Deuteronomy 9:6. But it wasn't just that God was busting their chops for no reason. God wanted to make sure that they understood that this blessing was with a purpose other than just to give them the good life. They were receiving this blessing so that the people of earth would know that God, who created everything, wanted a relationship with them. And understand, this is the same family tree through whom Jesus will come, and there is no better picture of what a restored relationship with God can look like than the relationship that Jesus has with his heavenly Father. They were blessed, but it was intended for, and it did, accomplish something other than just their own success. It was meant to be passed on to others. And that's the way it works for any of us who are followers of Jesus. We have money or possessions that we realize that we've received. They're meant to be passed on. We have relationships, and they're given for something other than just our own enjoyment. Anything from God, grace, forgiveness, acceptance, patience, anything that we receive from him is meant to be passed on. It isn't just for us alone. So for example, Paul wrote another letter. This time it's to the ancient city of Colossae. This is in modern day Turkey. And he says, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. There's a beautiful word picture here. These are all things that God has just lavished on you, and you should wrap yourself up in them. You should clothe yourself in compassion He's been so kind to you. He has approached you humbly because he wants a relationship and not just robots. He's been gentle with you. He's been patient with you. Like, wrap yourself up in that. And he goes on, bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Since God has treated you this way, you should pass it on. And so, he concludes, forgive as the Lord forgave you. Man, it is so good to know that we can be forgiven by God for anything and everything we have ever done, right? Which means when somebody does us wrong, because we've received that kind of forgiveness, we pass that kind of forgiveness on to other people. It is so good that God is so patient with us as we grow in this relationship with him. And when we do dumb things, God still loves us. And so it means that we pass on that kind of patience with other people around us. When we disagree with the things that they say or the views that they hold or the ways that they conduct themselves. And the same is true with our stuff. Once again, Paul's writing a letter. This time he writes it to a friend of his named Timothy. He's one of the leaders in the early church. This is what he says to him. He says, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth. Here's the reason why. It's so uncertain. But to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. It is okay to enjoy the stuff. Just know that the stuff won't fulfill or last. He says, command them to be willing, or to be generous and to be willing to share, blessed to be a blessing to others. Because in this way, then they may take hold of the life that is truly life. See, for some of us, that's what we're chasing. The good life. And we want this kind of life. The posh life, the provided for life. And what Paul's learned from Jesus and what he's telling us is, if you want the life that is truly life, if you want what you're looking for, then you can't get enough stuff. You can't get enough #blessings to fulfill us unless we're willing to pass it on. Jesus himself is more blessed to give than to receive. Last year, I received a sabbatical grant, which meant that I could get away, and there was basically the money that was attached to it. It was like winning the lottery. It'll be the only chance I ever get to win the lottery, because I don't necessarily play the lottery, so I think it's going to be the only chance I've ever got. But it was awesome. It was awesome. And I had the chance to kind of experience some things. I had to go to Europe for part of it. I had a chance to experience some things. It was great. I could have gone by myself, but I like living indoors, and I like my family speaking to me. So I brought them along with me because I thought, that's the wisest thing to do. Otherwise, they will not let me come home. And it was great. I mean, we had a chance to give our kids some experiences. It was awesome. They did things I've never done, prior to that either. But you know what was also really, really awesome? I mean, as much as that was cool and we got a chance to experience some of that, it was also being able to spend some time with some people on our staff. Like, it gave me the opportunity to be generous with that in ways that normally we wouldn't have been able to do. It gave me a chance to have some experiences with some of you who are coaches here. It gave me a chance to share some experiences with some of you who are leaders of groups here through a big party. So as much fun as it was to experience some of the other stuff, to be able to share some of that, like, that was truly awesome. And similarly, I've had some conversations with some of you, so that when the stimulus check arrived for you this year, you felt like you were at a place, not everybody, but some of you were at a place where you were like, I don't know what we're going to do with it. Like, I don't feel like we've had hardship hit us yet. But I think that there have been some other people who have. What would we do? We're able to have a conversation and walk through you being generous and passing on what you received so that someone else could receive. It's the thing that Jesus teaches us. It's the thing that we're learning if we're open to it. It's more blessed to give than it is to receive. That when we look up and we find ourselves blessed, however it happens, that there's a responsibility for followers of Jesus, at least, to pass that on to others. There's a way to be content in this life, regardless of what circumstances throw at you. But I hope, I really do, I hope that it throws some good circumstances your way. When that happens, we would look around and we would see the ways in which God wants to use our story in someone else's story. And so practically it means that we would drop using #blessed the way that sometimes we've been guilty of using it. That this is for me, this is so good that something has happened to me, look at what has happened to me. We drop those usages and instead would be willing to say, God may want to use me and use this in someone else's story. So let's kind of end with some replacement phrases. Let's just say that you get a brand new car, all right? So instead of posting a picture that says #blessed, or if you're totally against social media and you would never post a picture anyway and you're kind of angry at the people that do, then maybe it's just even using the word blessed, all right? Regardless of how you're going to do it, and we wouldn't use it in that frame. There are some simple replacement phrases here, and I want to be really practical about this. Like for some of us, when we use the word blessed or #blessed, we're simply trying to say thanks. And so this is my suggestion to you. Just use the replacement phrase, thanks, okay? I mean, maybe you're trying to say thanks to God, maybe you're trying to say thanks to the dealer or somebody, I don't know. But if that's what you're trying to say and you simply want to say thanks, to acknowledge gratitude, then just say thanks. For some of you, it is very possible that what you're trying to say is, you guys, look at this. And if that's what you're trying to do, let me just be frank with you. Use the phrase, you guys, look at this. I mean, for some of us, we kind of thought that's what you were saying anyway when you said #blessed. And understand this, important parentheses here. Healthy people, all right? Healthy people can celebrate with you when you're celebrating. They can be grateful for you when you're grateful. And so if that's what you mean, then simply say that. See, it gives us a chance to rethink the way that we use #blessed so that we're able to distribute what God's given to us. There's 1,000 other possibilities. Perhaps for you, a replacement phrase is, hey, we'd love to take you and your family out on the boat this weekend. Maybe for you it is, hey, do you need to borrow my mower? Maybe it has nothing to do with your stuff. Maybe for you it is, I forgive you. Or maybe it's just simply saying, hey, it's okay. I'll wait. You go first. We recognize that we're #blessed, that we've been blessed by God, that we've received anything material or otherwise. Then it means that we take enough time to look around and to see the ways in which other people can experience that. That's what it means to be blessed. I want to pray for that right now. God, we know that you are good to us. And God, what I pray for all of us right now is that we'd pay more attention to that this next week, maybe even before the day is done. And that, God, we would see your goodness and then see very real ways, very practical ways that we can pass on your goodness to other people around you or other people around us so that they would know that you are good. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, I really hope that was helpful for integrating faith with life. Listen, if you're in Northwest Indiana, I'd love to have you join us in person. Head over to suncrest.org and plan your visit.